Good evening, everybody. It's Vanya Fatidis here, founder of Peaceful Eating, where I help people come to a place of peace and ease with food and their bodies. Every week, I answer subscriber questions. You don't even need to be a subscriber to ask me a question, by the way. You just need to go to peacefuleating.co.uk/ask, and you can send me an anonymous question. Really, ask me anything about eating behavior, body image, um, and yeah, all the related topics. So I have 4 questions that were submitted. And by the way, if you happen to be watching and you have a question, do just pop it in the comment box. You can also just say hi in the comment box. It's always nice to know that somebody's there. So the questions that I'm going to answer today, just in brief, are about weight and health. That's the one. About how to stop secret eating, how to feel more at ease in your body if you're unhappy with your size, and the difference between binging out of emotion or binging as a response to restriction. What's the difference? Does it even matter? So I'm going to be looking at those 4 things as well as anything else that might come up in the meantime. So I'm curious, before I get going, how you are all doing. Yeah, just this ongoingness with COVID and the restrictions here in the UK. I don't know where you're watching from. But yes, I'm certainly feeling quite fatigued by it all. And I'm in a very privileged position in many ways because my business is already online. I already work from home. And I don't have small children I need to homeschool. So, I know it's really, really tough for many people, have additional pressures. But even me, somebody who pretty much likes to be at home and be a homebody, I'm just finding it a bit much. So curious about how you're all feeling and how you're doing. And I hope that you're being kind to yourself because it is tough, however secure you may be in terms of relationships, your, roof over your head, enough food on the table, etc. It's still pretty challenging. So please just be kind to yourselves and don't add any additional pressure. Okay, so let me get to the questions. Also, just to let you know that I don't know the people who are sending me questions. Typically, I don't know their background. I don't know very much at all about them. Most of the time, what I read out to you is what I know about people. So this is really to be taken as a general advice and general thinking about it. If you are one of the questioners and you want to clarify or add something, please do. Just peacefuleating.co.uk/ask. And just tell me, I was the one who asked about whatever. All right. So I see there's another question that's come through, which is about how do you get your natural hunger back, or how do you recognize it? So I will get to that question. So hang in there. All right, let me get going. So the first question I have is actually in response to an email that I sent to my subscribers, which was talking about a sticky belief or a lie. I called it a lie that will trip you up around your eating behavior. And the lie is, I have to lose weight for my health. So many people believe that and are being told. I mean, we just today in the news, there was more about the association between weight and health. And so we keep getting this message that in order to be healthy, we need to lose weight, or we need to be a certain kind of weight. And so here's the question related to that. I guess this is a sticky belief that I hang on to, but I feel it to be true for me. Not all people are as overweight. And, this person is using the word overweight. I try not to use those terms because they are stigmatizing and they are the categories of the BMI, which make the assumption if you're overweight that there is a certain weight that you are over. So there's a certain ideal weight that you are then over. And this is a very, very simplistic way of looking at weight. The word obesity also is stigmatizing and, in fact, factually incorrect as a word. It means eaten yourself to fatness or something along those lines. And that is not the only reason that people gain weight or are in bigger bodies. So it's just don't like it. But anyway, I'm just reading what I have here. So not all people are as big as I am, you could say. I feel I'm an exception to this rule. I weigh a certain number of pounds, and I'm not going to give the amount here because I don't think it's necessary. And I have type 2 diabetes, and my weight gets in the way of my quality of living. So I believe I need to lose weight for my health. Don't you think I'm an exception to the rule? All right. So if you are on the higher end of the weight spectrum, you will obviously have been given this message. More that you need to lose weight in order to improve your health. Now, it is true that the higher you are on the weight spectrum, the bigger the association with poorer health outcomes. But we need to remember that this is an association. It is not a causation, as far as anybody can tell. It hasn't been proved that the higher weight itself, the extra adipose tissue, is the cause of the poorer health outcomes. So there are lots of reasons why there might be poorer health outcomes, like being stigmatized. It's called weight stigma. So you maybe avoid even going to the doctor because you know you're going to get the lecture about needing to lose weight. So therefore you delay annual checkups. Something's not feeling right, don't really want to go there because you're going to be getting this lecture, or you're going to be shamed, or you're going to be frowned upon. Sometimes people will go into the doctor's office for something that really cannot be explained by weight, like a septic toenail or a strep throat or a virus, whatever. And what they're told by the doctor is lose weight and you'll feel better, and not actually get treatment for the thing that they came in for. So this makes it harder for people in bigger bodies to keep going back to the doctor. So one reason for the association with poor health outcomes of high weight people is that they've been stigmatized and therefore not getting medical treatment. And sometimes when they do go for medical treatment, not getting the actual treatment that they need. They're being sent away to go and lose weight. So that is one reason. Being stigmatized in and of itself is very stressful and traumatizing on the body system and can lead to chronic stress for that person. And chronic stress is not good for anybody's health. So this could be another reason for poorer health outcomes. There are lots of other things like poverty will obviously lead to poorer health outcomes, and a greater proportion of people in bigger bodies are in that category. So I don't know that if the person who sent this into me falls into that category, but so there are other variables that could be at play as well as being in a bigger body. Also behavior. So, not all people in bigger bodies are eating too much for their body, right? Not there's a lot of assumption around bigger people's or fat people's behavior around food. So some people might be eating a poor quality diet, or a great proportion of a poor quality diet, but by no means do all people who are in bigger bodies eat a poor quality diet. That is really an erroneous assumption to be making. So that's a sort of preamble before I even answer the question. If you have diabetes, now I'm not a dietitian or a doctor, so I can't really speak directly to this, but just to say that people of all sizes get diabetes. The direction from the health professionals to lose weight if you have diabetes, from what I've learned from non-diet dietitians who actually do work in the field of diabetes, is that this is both unhelpful and doesn't actually work long term, or there isn't evidence that it works long term. So you might lose a bit of weight. It's not the weight loss, it's the control of the blood sugar that is the important thing. So learning how to manage your blood sugars is what you should be focusing on, rather than trying to lose weight. It might turn out that as a result of managing your blood sugars, and as a result perhaps of changing your relationship with food, you lose weight as a natural consequence of that. You might not lose weight as a natural consequence of that. All bodies are different and will respond differently. But it will be the controlling of the blood sugars that helps your health more than any potentially associated weight loss. So the last thing I want to say to you, this person who sent me this question, is that trying to lose weight is still not going to help you. So even if it was true that your weight is absolutely unequivocally directly responsible for the diabetes and potentially any other issues that you're having, even if that was so, there isn't a way that we know of that can safely help somebody lose weight sustainably. There just isn't a way. And in fact, dieting or trying to lose weight, any kind of weight loss attempt, is a very good predictor. In fact, there's a high prediction rate of further weight gain. So my guess is that you have tried really hard to lose weight and diet. And the consequence of all of that has been that you have raised your set point over time. This is one of the unintended consequences of dieting, but it is a well-documented and very real consequence of dieting. So I'm going to invite you to please come and do my workshops, From Dieting Roller Coaster to Peaceful Eating. It's starting on the 22nd of February. This person who sent in this message, you're already on my email list, so you'll be getting emails very soon. On Monday, you'll be able to register for the event. And so I hope you do, because I think I've got something that might help you with that. All right, let me move on to the next question. Despite so much progress and a complete change of mindset with my eating intuitively, I'm uncomfortable with my body size. I cannot accept this bigger me. How can I make peace with my body? All right. So, well, congratulations on all the work you've done so far on working on your relationship with food. Really, well done. That really, I hope you acknowledge yourself, because that takes work, and it takes courage, and it takes commitment, and it takes patience. So really well done. And I get it. You are feeling uncomfortable in your body and finding it hard to accept the size that you are. Now, often when I have clients who tell me this, I will ask them, how much of this is physical discomfort and how much of it is emotional discomfort? Try to be honest with yourself about this. Now, it might be that if you are in a significantly bigger body and you're struggling to walk, you're struggling to wipe your bum or to wash yourself or, to move unassisted, or you've got young children and you struggle to keep up with them and you struggle to get down on the floor with them and all of that, then I would say I get it, that there is physical discomfort there. And then there will be a associated emotional discomfort that goes along with the physical discomfort. But if you can tie your shoelaces, wipe your bum, you can move reasonably, with some level of ease. I mean, you might not be fit, but there might be, you might be able to get around and fairly easily. Then I would say the majority of your discomfort is emotional discomfort. Now, why do we feel emotionally uncomfortable when we're in a bigger body? Well, it's really because everything around us tells us that we should be in a smaller body. We've got the health messaging about losing weight. We've got the advertising and marketing, constantly showing us images of bodies that very few people effortlessly have. Did you know that in the US, and I don't know for this country, but it's probably similar. In the US, 67% of women are so-called plus size, which I think in this country is a size 16 and up. And only 2% of the images that we see are representative of that. We're getting a little bit, there's a little bit more diversity coming in now on the marketing images, but usually they won't look like you. They will be really young. They'll have, flawless skin. They might be so-called plus size, but they'll have an hourglass shape, So there's very few images out there in the media that really do look like everyday people. If you were just to go to the beach, go down to, Brighton or West Wittering or Canberra Sands, wherever it is, or wherever you live, I don't know where you are, and just look at bodies, or you're in a shopping center, not right now, but soon, hopefully one of these days, we'll be able to do that again. And you really just look at bodies with curiosity, not judgment, just curiosity. You will see a vast array of shapes and sizes that are not represented in the media. But if you look up and you look at, H&M advertising or whatever, these sort of big billboardy type things in the shop windows, they're all young, they're all flawless, they're all thin, so that is what we're bombarded with all of the time. And then there's all of the associated stereotypes with people in bigger bodies. They're lazy, they're unhealthy, they are emotionally kind of stunted or not good at managing their own emotions. They must eat emotionally. They just don't have their life together. They've let themselves go. They just eat all day long. They're a couch potato. Then there's other stereotypes. They're unreliable, and so on. So there's all of these associations with, being in a bigger body. So there's a lot of cultural pressure that makes you feel emotionally unsafe to be in a bigger body. And that's really tough. It really is. Now, I don't know you, and I know that people of all sizes can struggle with their body image, even if they're in a size that isn't vilified in our culture, still feel uncomfortable. You might be a fairly small size, and because of recovering from an eating disorder, you have gained some weight, But actually, if somebody you didn't know saw you, they, it wouldn't even, we live in a fat phobic world. So if they saw you, nobody would think, that person's in a bigger body, or that person's fat, or whatever. They wouldn't think that. So um, obviously, it's much harder for people who actually are objectively in bigger bodies, because there's, people giving them unsolicited advice about how to eat, what to put in their shopping trolley, hanging out of windows, commenting on their bodies, etc. Not that that only happens to people in bigger bodies. It happens to lots of people in all sizes. My point is, though, that there are degrees of discomfort in one's body, and there's always going to be internal work to be doing. But obviously, if you are in a objectively bigger body, you will also be having the pressure from outside of you very directly. Of course, people who are in thinner bodies also feel this pressure. What they also experience is thin privilege, where they have a level of social currency because of the body that they have. And so then they want to hang on to that and try and maintain it, because they get the approval from people around them and don't want to let go of that, right? So it affects everybody, but in different ways. So I haven't even answered your question. How can I make peace with my body, was your question. And really, this, again, as intuitive eating, takes time and practice and patience and courage and commitment. So does making peace with your body. And the first thing I would say is absolutely make sure that you have got clothes that fit you. Somehow make sure that you have clothes that fit you. Having clothes that don't fit you is incredibly oppressive and triggering, and you don't need that. So make sure you've got clothes that fit you. And if possible, get rid of anything that doesn't fit you. If you don't want to actually give it away or sell it, then get it out of your wardrobe and into a suitcase, in the loft, under the bed, I don't care where, in the shed. Just get it out of the way, so that you are not opening up your wardrobe and seeing there's that size 1, 2, 3, whatever, 4 sizes less, whatever it is. And that constant kind of reminder. So that would be the very first, very practical thing that will help you. The other thing is to think about your body as an instrument for living, rather than an ornament for looking at. So another thing that particularly women are trained to do from very tiny is to think about their appearance as being really important, and to that being pretty is really important. And from very young, we learn to please people through our appearance. Oh, she's so cute. Look, when she smiles, she's so cute. And then, of course, she smiles even more because she likes that approval. So this trains us into thinking of our bodies, objectifying ourselves, right? Thinking of our bodies and ourselves as an object to be for the viewing pleasure of others. And it really isn't. It's an instrument through which we live. So start to think of your body as an instrument, and start to cultivate appreciation for what your body does for you, how it enables everything in your life, all the experiences, the ones you like and the ones you don't like. It's all part of life. It's all part of living. And it would not be happening if you did not have a body. So intentionally start to practice appreciating your body. All right, I hope that helps. I'm running out of time here. All right, next question. I'd like to stop sneak eating. I'm in my son's house now, and I'm eating everything in sight and sweets in the car, and I'm really anxious around my daughter-in-law, as she is to be a mum again tomorrow. My goodness. Okay, well, congratulations on grandmotherhood. All right, so how do you stop sneak eating? Well, the only way that I know of to stop sneak eating is, well, there are two things that I think you need, at least two things. The one is to feel emotionally safe. So if in the space that you're in, you don't feel emotionally safe, if people are policing you around your food, judging you around your food, or making comments that are not at you, but you know they're about you, then that doesn't feel emotionally safe. And that's tricky. So that might require some support. You know, it's a therapist, a coach, somebody who can support you with that to help you find the words to communicate if that feels safe. So it depends on the environment that you're in and your level of safety. But if you feel with the relationships that you have that actually I can stand up for myself and this is happening to you and you know that you're getting comments or policing, then you need to speak up for yourself and say, you know, I'm going to eat whatever I want, and please don't discuss it or talk to me about it, because that's potentially a reason why you're sneak eating, because you don't feel safe enough, excuse me, to eat it in the open. The next thing you need to do is give yourself permission to eat whatever you want. So often we sneak eating because we're kind of not able to eat in front of ourselves. You know, it's like if we just do it quickly around the corner in the car or whatever, then it's almost as if it didn't happen. And this is a result of dieting. You know, what happens as a result of dieting. So I would encourage you to work on those two things, and also for you to come to the free workshops that are happening from the 22nd of February. Because I do talk about this as well, and there'll be lots of opportunity to ask more questions. So please do join us there. All right, the last one I've got before I get onto the question that I was asked here right now. How does one really know if they're eating emotionally, or is it out of restriction-led binging? I think I really am an emotional eater and use food to soothe. I know I'm also on a lot of levels, I know also on a lot of levels I am restricting mentally, but when I binge, it is usually because I'm not emotionally regulated, which makes me think I'm eating emotionally. And at the end of the day, does it matter why I'm overeating past comfort? I want to stop using food to soothe. That is a really great question. Thank you for bringing that. Okay, so does it really matter whether it's out of restriction or if it's out of emotion? I would say I would always assume that there's restriction to begin with, because it's, unless you've had a trauma in your background where there's been, you know, abuse, neglect, physical, emotional, either or, you the root of it is probably restriction. If you've had trauma in your background, it's quite possible that you're using food as an emotional regulation tool. And have compassion for yourself if that is you, and be kind to yourself. And please try to seek out support for that trauma so that you can learn how to emotionally regulate yourself and learn how to feel safe now. If you have a history of dieting, and I'm guessing you do because you're talking about restricting mentally, this really for me is the first place to be looking, because often what happens is through the physical restriction and the dieting behavior comes the mental restriction. And with the dieting mentality, what we're doing is we're using our conscious cognitive control to make decisions about eating. So we're trying to use our willpower. Eat this, don't eat this, eat a bit of this, not too much of that, yes, this, not that, etc. So there's a lot of kind of managing happening, which happens up here in the prefrontal cortex rather than being guided by hunger and fullness signals and satisfaction and what the body, you know, kind of is wanting to eat. When we are sustainably eating from that center, then we're not needing to use this to control anything because it doesn't need to be controlled. You just need to be responding to your body's signals. Now, when there's the mental restriction going on, you're doing that from up here, conscious cognitive control. And when then difficult emotions come up, this goes offline and this takes over your limbic system. And because of the restriction and that this is offline, your willpower has gone offline because you're dealing with the difficult emotion, which then means whatever you've been mentally telling yourself you shouldn't eat, you're then having a binge. When you really handle the mental and the physical restriction, emotion-led eating massively settles down. Yes, there may still be a need to develop and cultivate your capacity to be with your emotions without using food to soothe. But the first step is letting go of the restriction and continue to work on that. And yes, you can also start to learn how to allow your feelings. And, you know, you might be interested in coming on my next 12-week online coaching course, How to Live a Life of Peace with Food, because I teach all of that on the course. All right, that is it for the questions that were sent in. Let me get to this last question. Thank you for being patient. How do you get your natural hunger back? And how do you recognize it? This is also a great question. What I would suggest you do, so I don't know you, I don't know what's going on for you, but the first step always is the question that I would ask is, do you have regular meals? Do you have a nice kind of rhythm of eating? Because if you don't, and if you go from dieting and restriction straight into trying to eat intuitively and you find it hard to hear your hunger signals, it's probably because your hunger signals have given up on you because you haven't been listening to them, you've been overriding them. And so in order to get the hunger signals back and actually to make fullness signals also become you to become more sensitive to them, is to create a stepping stone to intuitive eating, which is to eat sort of in a regulated pattern where you would eat your breakfast, literally, even if you're not hungry, potentially have a snack, have some lunch, have a snack, have your dinner, maybe have a snack. Now, this is not a rule, and I'm not so set on you have to do it this way, but you really should be checking in with yourself. Well, it depends so much on what you've eaten, right? Because different foods are going to sustain you for different amounts of time. So for me to say, you know, don't go longer than this amount of time, if I say, oh, make sure you eat within 5 hours and all you've had before that is apple, that's way too long to be waiting, you know. So it very much depends on what you're eating. So if I was working with you, we would talk about this and we would be able to come to a kind of plan about what sort of time gap you should be having between your meals and snacks to help bring the sensitivity back to your hunger and fullness signals. So I hope that makes sense. So how do you recognize it? Well, it might be a growl in your tummy, but it might also be thoughts about food are just popping up in your mind. So you might not actually connect physical sensations of hunger, but you are thinking about food. Trust that you are probably hungry, and I would say err on the side of that and go and have something to eat if that is what's happening for you. You might feel low in energy, you might get a headache, you might get crabby with people. That usually means you've gone too far. If you're getting to the point of what we call hangry, that's gone too far. You need to try and catch it. So this is why some regulated pattern of eating can really help. And then literally eat whatever you want at those times. And it doesn't mean you can't eat outside of those times, but do try to incorporate some kind of pattern and nice rhythm. It really does help to calm down the nervous system, particularly if you are a real restrictor. Okay, so I hope that helps and I hope that makes sense to everybody. Thank you for sending in your questions. So I've mentioned two things today. The one is that I've got an upcoming set of free workshops. It's a whole week and they really are rich in content, in information. I've answered all your questions and it's really quite fun. I've got worksheets for you to do. You can connect with other people. It's not on, well, there is a Facebook group that'll be a closed Facebook group, but the event itself will not happen on Facebook. So if you're not on Facebook and you're watching this on my website, you can still join and you can chat along with other people, even if you're not on Facebook when during the workshops. It's really fun and connecting and people get a lot out of it. So if you do want to join, then please sign up to peacefuleating.co.uk/guide, and you'll get my guide to peaceful eating, a little mini course called What to Pack for your peaceful eating journey. And then you will get on my list. And on Monday, I will open up registration for the free workshops. So I hope to see you there. Take care and have a great evening or day, whatever time it is for you when you're watching this. Take care. Bye.